Hi, it's Ben, and or Bookish Bear, and apparently I'm not dead, so that's good news, I guess. I have not been feeling super motivated to do creative stuff, so I haven't been making really any videos, but I decided I'm going to force myself to power through and do a wrap-up video for April. So I'm going to at least do an April video and then a wrap-up video going forward every month. So at least I'll be doing those. I'm just going to dive right in. So like all my other videos, I'm going to go over what I'm currently reading first. So what I'm currently reading is Less by Andrew Sean Greer. I'm reading it on my really old, oh cool, that's fun. I'm reading it on my really old iPad that's going to give you a bunch of glare, so that's what's going on. So Less was kind of on my radar. I read about it and it sounded interesting. Obviously, as a gay man, books about gay people will pique my interest at least a little bit. And then it won the Pulitzer, and I saw a pretty scathing review of it actually on YouTube. I'm not sure if the person who did the review is a booktuber or not. I didn't watch any of his other videos, but he kind of tore into the book, and it made me want to read it even more to see if I felt the same way. He made lots of points about how it's not really a queer book as much as it is a gay book about another gay white dude, which seems to be kind of what we're willing to handle as a society at this point. Is the middle-aged, well-off, white, gay dude. And there's lots of other representation that needs to happen. As a almost middle-aged, pretty well-off white dude, I can pretty much say that our story has kind of been told a lot. And so I'm reading it. I read the first chapter or so. Kind of feeling meh about it. Hopefully I will enjoy it more going forward. But yeah, so that's what I'm currently reading, and a bunch of comics. Trying to get through some old comic stuff and catching up, really, which I'll talk about more later. So what I read in and finished in April, the first thing I read was, or finished was Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda by Becky Albertalli? Albertalli? I don't know how to say that, sorry. I apologize. So, similarly, I read this book because I saw the trailer for the movie Love, Simon, and it sort of made me irrationally angry for lots of different reasons that I had to kind of unpack on my own. And I don't usually get upset about things like that. Like, I usually just kind of shrug it off as like, oh, who cares? But I did find myself getting very upset about it, and I wanted to figure out why and unpack why I was feeling so strongly about the movie. And the main reason is it felt very much like another coming out story, and it's just sort of frustrating that popular culture, straight people tend to think that the coming out aspect of being queer is the most interesting aspect of being a queer person, and we just have to get to a point where that's not true. And this movie felt very much, even though it was trying to make that point, felt like it was just buying into that whole stuff. So it made me upset. And then I found out it was based on a book. And then I found out that the book was written by a straight white lady. And the idea of a straight white lady writing a coming out book about a gay dude didn't sit well with me at all. I don't understand why someone would want to write that story when it's not their story. I read a lot of interviews with the author. She seems awesome. She seems like a great person. I really like her, and I went in not wanting to, but I really like her. She seems really responsible with what she's doing and how she speaks and the representation that she wants to provide. So that's all cool. But it's still reading the book. This is completely out of my wheelhouse. BRIers. I don't really like to read much rom-commy type stuff. It was a little too precious, I guess is the word or the adjective that most people would use to describe what this book is. I don't read that kind of stuff. I'm not into YA at all. So I simply read it to see how I would feel about it and to see if it was going to leave me feeling as angry as it did. There were parts of it that really, really irked me. There were parts of it that I wasn't into and that I think that are kind of irresponsible. I was going to make a longer video about the movie and the book and my feelings about it, but I just kind of decided not to because I just stopped caring because there's nothing I can do about it, really. But it just feels like a commandeering of an experience that straight people don't have to experience. Yeah. So whatever. It's cool that kids are watching it and taking their parents to see the movie and reading it and then feeling inspired to come out. That's awesome. Tangent. It's just this weird thing of like queer people. I write and I never want to write a coming out story. I just don't want to do that. Like it's this emotional, like exhausting thing that we have to do every day. It's not like a simple, like I told my parents and now I'm out. Like it's every day. We have to come out every day. We have to let someone new know, hey, I'm straight. I live in Texas, so it's even more common where I say, oh, that's my husband, and people give weird looks. I had to tell my doctor 3 times and correct him and say husband every time he said wife. It's just really frustrating. So it's not something that I want to put any creative energy into. It's just not a story that I want to tell. And I think that that's kind of prevalent, and it's not a story that we want to revisit and tell again and fictionalize or whatever. So, but then we also don't want straight people to do it, or I don't. I can't speak for everybody. Because it just feels like a very personal thing that they don't understand and can understand, and they can equate it to lots of different things, and the author sort of even uses it as a metaphor and uses lots of other metaphors to break it down for straight people so they understand what it's like, and it's just exhausting. So, but yeah, it's that odd catch-22 of like, I don't really want to do it, but I don't want you to do it either. So maybe the queer community needs to step up and write more coming out stories. Maybe that's the solution, so they'll be more genuine. Who knows? Anyways, so the other book that I read in April was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I had never read any Jane Austen before. Again, pretty out of my wheelhouse. Not really into any kind of period stuff that's not set in recent or modern times, but felt really a need to read Jane Austen, and I'm really, really glad that I did. She's an excellent writer and deserves all the praise that she has ever gotten. Pride and Prejudice book, the story was... So I liked it. The story was a little meandering. I kept waiting for some big dramatic thing, and I think that was simply based on the Keira Knightley movie that I saw. I don't even think I sat and watched the whole thing. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it. But I feel like there was a really dramatic scene where they're like out on these like dunes and it's like really foggy and they profess their love to each other or something. It was really dramatic. So I was kind of waiting for that moment, and it doesn't really happen in the book. There's nothing that dramatic. I also really felt like I just kind of had to take it at the character's word that these people were not good. I don't know. Darcy never seemed to be doing anything that seemed all that bad to me. So it was when they were like, oh, finally we like Darcy because he's not bad. It was just misunderstanding. I was just like, I mean, he seemed all right to me anyways. I was much more interested in the Bigsley and Jane romance than the Darcy-Elizabeth romance. I don't know if that's common or not, but it seemed more genuine, and it seemed like they actually liked each other, and they didn't just kind of decide that they were in love, which is how it felt for Elizabeth and Darcy for me. Like Elizabeth learned that he wasn't a bad guy and decided she loved him, and then he was kind of nice to her when he went to her house. When she went to his house, I don't know. It was good. I really enjoyed all the characters. She's great at writing characters and making you feel towards them what you're supposed to, what the narrative needs you to feel towards them. So you don't really like the sisters who are kind of vapid. You don't really like the mom all that much. You don't like Darcy's or Bigsley's sisters because they're jerks to Jane. And Jane is delightful and great, so you do love her. I really liked Mary. Mary seemed kind of like just chilling in the corner doing her own thing, so I kind of related to that. I saw a lot of myself in Elizabeth. There were certain things that I would read and it'll be like, oh, yeah, that's the same. That's me. So I really understand why everyone likes this book a lot. I will try to read more Jane Austen in the future, and I'm really glad that I read it. So as far as books acquired in April, I didn't do a lot of book buying. I bought a lot of comics. I'm going to do a separate video. I know that I've been kind of throwing in my comic haul at the end of these videos, but I'm going to do a separate video this month for April in comics because I bought a lot. Some would say too many. I would say just the right amount. So I didn't buy a lot of books, but I did get a few because, you know what it's like. So the first thing that is really, really awesome is I showed you last week. I found a book of Wendell Berry short stories at half price and was kind of kicking myself because I had a bunch. I was kind of kicking myself that I didn't get more. And my husband works over by that half price, and he was going to the office, and I asked him if he would stop and check to see if they had any left, because they do seem sort of hard to find, and I don't see them very often. And I was thinking maybe he would get a couple or something, but he brought home like 5 Wendell Berry books. So now I have just a shit ton of Wendell Berry. Got this one, Nathan Coulter. I got The World Lost, and this is all fiction stuff. It looks like novels. Most of these are, I think all of these are novels. Early Travel, Andy Catlett. It looks like some of these are about the same place and or same characters. Jayber, which I think I've actually heard of this one. I think this is maybe his famous one, because I think I've heard of that. The name rings a bell, more so than anything else. And then The Memory of Old Jack. So a lot of these are really shorter novels. This one looks longer, but they look pretty short. They're very tall, though, so maybe that's deceptive, because I'm sure they're going to be not too many words. Okay, so probably try to read some of these soonish to get a feel for if I like his writing or not. Hopefully I do, because now I have all this stuff. So yeah, thanks to my husband. His name is Mark. He's pretty awesome for getting those for me. The next thing I got was one of those, which everyone I know understands, is when you need something from Amazon and you want to fill a quota, or you're like, oh, I can't just buy just this one thing. I was getting a new ball for my dog, and it was like $4, and I was like, I don't want to spend just $4 on Amazon, so I'm going to order a book as well. So I got this Illmatic. It's by Matthew Gasteier, I would assume is how you say that. If you don't know anything about the 33 and a Third series, it's just different writers. They write a book-long essay about a certain album. They're usually really cool albums. I'm super into Nas. Illmatic is classic. So I didn't have this one, so I got it. I'm trying to read more of these. I have a few. They're usually pretty inexpensive, $10 to $12. So it's a good kind of add-on thing. And then the last book that I got was actually sent to me through book mail from someone I'm in a book group called the Book Insiders, and someone is doing kind of a giveaway. She's really awesome about inspiring and encouraging people to read, and a few of us were reading Infinite Jest. So she's doing kind of random drawings of people who have gotten to a certain amount of pages, and I won the last one. And she sent me this along with some other cool stuff that I'll talk about in my comic video. It's called Tell the Machine Goodnight by Katie Williams. Based on the synopsis on the back, it's sort of It sounds really interesting, and I will probably try to read it soon because it was so sweet of her to send this. And it's not really something that I would have picked up on my own, but it does sound interesting, so I'm excited to read that. So thank you again. And that's kind of what I got in April. Like I said, I'm going to do a separate comic video and put it up probably at the same time or soon. If you want to discuss any of the stuff that I talked about today, then feel free in the comments. Sorry about my sort of mini rant. Maybe I do still need to do that video and get out all of these feelings of frustration. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope that you are having a good day.